Well, hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back. Thank you for stopping by. Today, we're going to be talking about my search for trying to find the best way to record my runs on the treadmill. Just recently, a couple weeks ago, I got a treadmill, and I've ran on treadmills a lot in the past, but I've never had a really great way to record my runs. I've tried all my different GPS watches from Garmin to Suunto, Polar, Coros. I think that's all of them. A bunch of different iPhone apps in this whole process. I've tried the Apple Watch, and unfortunately, nothing has really checked all the boxes for me. Everything has been lacking something. So I landed on using an app on my iPhone. So there were two main things that were important to me when trying to find the best way to record my runs. And the number one thing was getting all of my data into one file. In the past, I had ran on a treadmill with my Suunto 9, and it would give me like my pace, my distance, my heart rate. But I always had to add a separate activity in Strava to add in my vertical gain, and I had to go into Training Peaks afterwards and modify the workout file. And with any other watch or app I tried, I wasn't able to get my power, my cadence, my heart rate, my pace, my distance. I wasn't able to get all of that into one file. So that was the number one requirement. The second requirement was that I really wanted to find something that would kind of automatically export to everywhere. And the treadmill I got is a Soleil F63. It's a pretty entry-level treadmill. There's nothing really special about it, but it does have Bluetooth, and in the user manual, I did see that it could send and receive data, so I wanted to figure out what that was all about. I tried all my watches, and none of them would find the treadmill as an accessory or anything else. Like it wouldn't send or receive any data to or from any of my watches. So I started looking around, and I started saying, okay, like if one of my watches is not going to do this for me, it's not going to be the easiest way to make this happen, there's probably an iPhone app out there that does it. And so I tried several different iPhone apps. So the app I use for running outdoors when I use my Apple Watch is the Stryd app, and it's really great for running outside. But I'm going to come back to this in a second after I tell you a couple of the other options I tried, because there's kind of an interesting story with the Stryd app and what I found out. So the next app I tried was Apple Fitness, and it didn't connect to Stryd, so I wasn't getting any power numbers into the data file, and so I just kind of took a pass on that. I tried Treadmill, Indoor Run Traveler, but you have to pay for it after 5 runs, and so that was out of the question too. I tried WorkOutdoors, but it doesn't connect to Stryd, doesn't connect to Treadmill, doesn't connect to a Bluetooth heart rate monitor, it doesn't connect to anything. So while it is a great app to use running outside, when you're inside, it didn't do much. I tried Zwift as well, and while that is great for cycling or triathlon training, it ended up being kind of boring for running, at least for me, watching it on a phone, because I don't have like a TV or anything yet for my treadmill. And there was some problems, like it did connect to Stryd, but it didn't connect to the treadmill, and so it wasn't getting like incline information or anything like that. So there was some, it kind of worked, but also took a pass on it. So now we come back to the Stryd app. And I really wish this would have worked, because I'm very familiar with the app. I like using it, it's fast. I've never had it crash on me. It's just a good app, especially for running with just an Apple Watch. And when you're on a treadmill, you can type in the incline percentage, and it will translate that to the data file. It will give you your correct power reading, because it kind of multiplies it a little bit differently, because your power is definitely different running at the same pace and cadence going uphill than it is on flat ground. So that was great, because when I would crank it up to 15%, instead of my power dropping to 150 or something, it would actually show something more realistic, like maybe 350 or something like that, depending on whatever pace I was running up that 15%. So that was awesome. But it was really annoying having the Stryd app open and having to hit the arrow button up to get up to the percentage and then down to the percentage. And it was just especially when you're doing intervals of quick intervals, it's that gets really, really hard. It's hard enough to hit the button on a treadmill. It's even harder to try and hit it on an iPhone screen. But the biggest problem was that once I was done with the workout and exported it to Strava, Strava showed 0 feet gained. And I was like, what? I just went through all this work to try and make this happen. I opened up my Stryd app, and sure enough, the vertical gain was there in the Stryd app, but it was showing 0 in Strava. Training Peaks was fine. It displayed it properly there. So I emailed Strava again for the 5th year in a row. Can we please edit data on treadmill runs after the fact? I was like, I don't care if you take me out of your silly competitions or whatever run challenges you have going on. I just want to be able to type in 2,000 feet on a workout if I gained 2,000 feet when you say I gained 0. I don't want to have to add a manual activity. But the actual response I got back was, that's not possible. Here's how you add a manual activity. That is a terrible solution to the problem you have on your website about not being able to edit data. What is going on here? I don't understand why it's been years and years and we still can't edit the vertical gain on treadmill runs. Does nobody do incline on a treadmill and care about this at Strava? Like, do you guys even run at Strava? So I reached out to Stryd and I said, hey guys, can you help me out with this? Like, what is going on? And I actually did get a very helpful response back at first. And they explained that when you click indoor run in the Stryd app, they actually do still record a single GPS point at the beginning of your run. And so your map just shows one little GPS point. And the reason behind this was that so you can remember where you ran on the treadmill. It made no sense to me. But I moved on. And then they explained that when you send your file over to Strava, if there is any GPS information in the file, they throw out the vertical chart, any elevation data that is recorded in the file. It's just gone. And they base all of it off of maps that they have internally. So since Stryd is recording a single GPS point, Strava looks at that and says, here's your GPS point, you never moved, therefore you gained 0 feet. So that's very frustrating that Strava would do that in the first place, because apparently they trust their maps more than they trust the hardware in your watch. That's a decision they made probably a long time ago, probably haven't even thought about it since then. But let's move on. The app I was able to find that does everything I want it to do is called RunCline. And this will take all of my power data, my heart rate, my cadence, my pace. It'll take my elevation gain. It will take my elevation profile. And I can't believe it because this app, when I downloaded it, it had 10 reviews. I don't think that many people know about this app. And so I hope by making this video, I'm able to help a lot of people because I think this app is really great and it's pretty much checks all the boxes that I wanted. And the app is super easy to use. Like, it's not that flashy, but you don't want something super flashy when you're running on the treadmill. You just want something that's gonna show the data in the same place all the time so you can just look down at it at a glance. And in the app, my phone was able to connect to my Bluetooth heart rate sensor, the Polar H10. It was able to connect to the Stryd pod, and it was able to connect Bluetooth to my treadmill, my budget treadmill. Like, I couldn't believe it. It actually worked on the first time, no problems. And every time since then, it's just connected immediately as soon as I turn on the treadmill. And the developer actually uses Stryd because even inside the app, it gives you the ability to calibrate your Stryd sensor. The other cool thing is that RunCline draws like a random map for you off the coast of Africa in the ocean somewhere. And apparently Strava doesn't have elevation information for that area, and so it lets the information from the fit file pass through, which is great because then you get your vertical gain data, you get your elevation profile that's recorded in the app. And that's exactly how I wanted Strava to act in the first place. I just wanted them to read the information from the file that I'm recording on a device that I trust. And with this app, it actually does that. And so once you're done with your run and you want to get it out of the app, RunCline, and over to Strava or Training Peaks or wherever you record your runs and save them forever, you can either email it to yourself or use the share sheet on the iPhone. Because I also have an app that I've used for a long time called RunGap. With RunGap, you can log into a bunch of different services like Training Peaks, Strava, Garmin. That's how I do it. It saves a lot of time if you like to upload your data to several places or you have several different types of watches. So there you go. And there is kind of one weird thing that I've noticed with RunCline and Strava specifically, but I think it's a Strava problem. It shows the correct timestamp for when I started my run everywhere. But when I upload it to Strava, it shows a time 5 hours later. They might be looking at your map and saying, if you ran over here off the coast of Africa, we're gonna take the time from there locally. So this is kind of another weird Strava thing. The only other cautionary thing I would say about this is that since it is an app, it can crash. And so that is something to think about. It's an app that's just created and put in the App Store. There's obviously not as much R&D gone into this app that there was, say, a Garmin watch or Polar or Suunto or something like that. So there is that to worry about. The app could also in the future not be supported anymore, but for right now, it works and it works great. But overall, I really like the app and it's been working for me. And since it's free, I just wanted to let all of you guys know about it. If I had some suggestions for the developer, say they watch this, I would say that if you could add the functionality to transfer over to the Apple Watch so that I could actually record all the runs on the watch instead, and I wouldn't have to have my iPhone actually sitting on the treadmill, because that's kind of a concern, having like a $1,000 piece of glass sitting on top of the treadmill. The only other thing I would say is that maybe add the ability to auto lap on the mile or the kilometer. That would be kind of cool. Other than that, I would say just make it a paid app, because you deserve money. But to the rest of you out there, I would say go download this app while it's free. I've been really happy with it. I've been able to get all my data into one file and out to the places I need it to go. But it's actually helped me enjoy running on the treadmill a little bit more, as oddly as that sounds, because I know that all of my information is going to one file. It's all going to where I need it to go. It's all being saved. And it's actually like, it relieves a little bit of stress. And that's like great for, when you're running on the treadmill, because it's stressful enough, because it's not that fun. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I just wanted to share with you in one video my whole journey as to what it took in order to find the right thing, and it ended up being an iPhone app to record all of my data and make it easy to put it into all the places I want it to go, to be able to record my training and be able to monitor my progress, be able to look back on it later and see how my training went for the Cruel Jewel 100 that's coming up in May. That's it. Thank you guys for stopping by. I'll see you again soon. Bye.